Kevin, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great
So,
talking to you again.
yeah, it was great to run into you the other day
hmm
at that show, which was the most crowded art show I think I might have ever been in.
Oh, I know. It's like it's so many. It was so great to see some old faces and also I feel like a lot of artists I've never heard of before, and I'm glad I was introduced to them.
I mean, I'd like to go back and actually see this stuff. I was talking to somebody and I couldn't stand there for longer than a couple seconds because people needed, they were flowing in. And if I didn't move, then I would have blocked the whole flow of the place.
Totally, and it was incredibly cold outside and incredibly hot inside, so it was like everyone had to hold their huge jackets and
On the plus side, that we reconnected,
yeah,
a few years ago, you were doing the Sharp Lentis studio program.
I was.
And
Yeah, that was like a couple of years ago.
I think we met before that, and then I saw you there.
hmm
Did you feel like doing that was useful, was valuable?
Uh, yeah, in many ways, especially since before Sharp Lenses, I was living in New York pre-pandemic, and then when the pandemic happened, I moved to Kansas City, and I was there for like 4 years. And then I decided, oh, I wanted to move back to New York, and out of the whim, I was like, I'm gonna decide to apply to Sharp Lenses, and like, I've applied previously like 7 times. I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna get in. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna apply like on the very last day, and then I got in, and so that gave me a good landing spot for returning back to New York City and the art scene. And I met so many incredible artists there that I'm still friends with. And yeah, and also having this free studio for a year is so beneficial for as an artist. Just to be, just to be allowed to work 24/7 and just have full dedication to my own practice. And yeah, it was incredible. I think it was a great experience. It's very hands off when it comes to like, I'm obligated to decide how far I want to take it or how much I can get out of the residency. So
So for
um
those who don't know, Sharp Lentis is a residency program based in Dumbo in Brooklyn, and you can apply. It's a free studio. You apply to it, and it's set up so that there's what has it like 10 to 20 people doing the program at the same time.
yeah, I think about 20 people. Applications are open now. So I think as we're speaking on December 15th, I just got an email from them and be like, hey, can you put it out there?
Cool.
So
So yeah,
it's actually funny that you're talking about it. But yeah, it's 1 year free residency, free application. A lot of prestigious artists have gone and done the residency, and there's artist open studios that like thousands and thousands of people come in to look at your studio, and yeah, and they invite curators to come in and see your studios and talk to you. And yeah, it's a wonderful program.
so it got you back to New York.
Yeah.
And you were in LA, then you moved out to New York. Pandemic happened, then the Sharp Lentis sort of brought you back. Or you said
Yeah.
you were in Kansas City between once the pandemic hit, then you went to Kansas City.
Yeah. At that time, I was doing like a long distance relationship, and we're like doing long distance for like 2 years. I met her here in New York, and then she was living in Kansas City, and so I was like traveling back and forth. And then when the pandemic happened, I thought, oh, okay, this is just going to be for a couple of weeks, couple of months. I just overstayed my welcome. I was there for 4 years. I made incredible friends there. And so it was really hard for me to leave because, there was a breakup. So that gave me a reason to leave. But it was hard for me to leave all my great friends um, to come to New York. At that time, I was really afraid of coming back to New York because I was like, oh man, like I don't know if I can do this again. Like it's a big emotional roller coaster to live in New York and just to try make as an artist because there's so many people who come here to make it as someone in their own craft. Um, And so, but I still go back every quarter just because I love it so much and I need some decompression from the big city life.
So you still have a bit of a community there.
Yeah, I still have a big community there. I still talk to my friends there, and I stay with my friends Kai and Andy. They're like, like best friends slash mother father kind of situation. I look up to them a lot, and as mentors and friends and family, and so I have a really close relationship with Kansas City.
This would be Kansas City, Missouri, then.
Yes, correct.
Not to be
Sure.
confused with Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah, I mean they share the same city, so it's always like you can say whatever you like. It's a weird. I still don't even know the history about it.
I lived in Kansas City for about a year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, in
No
Kansas City,
way.
Missouri. Yeah. Yeah, there was actually it seemed like a pretty robust art scene for especially for a city in the Midwest. You had the
Yeah.
school there, the KC
KCAI.
AI Art
Yeah.
Institute, and then the Nelson Atkins.
Yeah, I
Was it the Kemper as well?
the Kemper as well.
Yeah,
There's a lot. It's, I would say maybe it's like Chicago's little sister city.
it's a good way to
And
put it.
so a lot of architects, a lot of artists pass through Kansas City to teach there or to a lot of architects to build like iconic homes and buildings there. And like it has a very robust art scene. Hallmark's there. They have an amazing art collection. The Belger has an amazing art collection. You'll be like, for anyone to visit Kansas City, you'll be very surprised. It's not just like some hokey cornfield town. It's a very like metropolitan city.
There's a few galleries
Lot,
there as well. There's right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Am I correct in this that you started a space there?
I did. I started the first couple of years in Kansas City was kind of, or a couple of years, maybe a couple of months was like really hard to acclimate to because I was it's always hard to meet people, but I was having like I think I was like applying to do like to be in shows or try to participate in the art community, and I wasn't really kind of getting the opportunities to do that. Like I just kept getting denied, and I was so used to having this sort of active, lively artist community in Brooklyn. So I kind of wanted to take that attitude. And so I opened up a gallery just because I wanted to use the space to exhibit people who like were underrepresented or didn't really have the chance to exhibit in galleries because of certain protocols or whatsoever. But plus, I love curating shows, and so that just allowed me to get better at certain practices that artists maybe should have, like writing and documenting works and even shipping or having a dialogue between galleries and artists. But that only lasted for a year just because I just got overwhelmed and
It's a lot of
exhausted.
work.
There's a lot of work. It's especially when you do a group show and you're trying to like wrangle 20 artists and it's just a one person job. And um, it was just a lot of work and a lot of money to even have it go because I made a couple of sales, but that was not nearly enough to pay rent. And so it was just like hemorrhaging cash.
Was it a useful learning experience otherwise?
Yeah, it was incredibly useful. Yeah, useful because like I just learned how to even write about my own work and how can I pitch and sort of an idea to someone or a gallery or a curator, um, and then just also navigating the art world and art advisors and uh, trying to I don't know. It was a lot of it's a big learning process. It was great. It was great.
So it seems like that would have been pretty useful for you in terms of how you like forming your professional career as an artist.
Yeah, I would say I grew a lot in that year, and I became a bit more mature when it came to presenting my own work, or even or even just talking about other people's work. So I learned a lot. It was a great like because when I was doing it, I was also Googling how do I form an LLC or how do I, create an exhibition that isn't like guerrilla DIY style. So it was great. I met a lot of artists. I met so many artists, so many characters, no artist is the same, and some are better, not in the sense like skill wise, but just more like communication. Like I would say my biggest advice to young artists or any artist is just treat everyone how you want to be treated. Like because I would come across artists who would like just talk down to me or be demanding, and I'm like, this is not how you communicate with anyone. Like you shouldn't communicate like this to anyone. And so I made amazing art. I mean, I also used the space to like exhibit New York, LA, and artists from Mexico, artists from Canada, and bring them to the Midwest and like integrate them with the local scene. And so I use the gallery as an excuse to like create connections with artists that I look up to or always wanted to be friends with. So it just gave me an excuse to like handle their work and create this friendship, and it was great.
You're creating a kind of a community there.
Yeah, instead of waiting for to find a community, I got I just wanted to take action and just create a community.
That's good.
Uh, yeah, so I just wanted to be proactive, and I think like the biggest lesson I learned was I have to give more than I take. Um, and so yeah, it was an incredible experience.
I think that's just generally a good thing to think about in terms of, I think often young artists want to move to New York City and they want somebody to discover them and they want to make a career and it's all about them. But it's really nice when you take a step back and you look at what other people are doing and you connect with their work. There's a short film on Netflix called The Only Girl in the Orchestra, which was
Oh,
made. Do you know who Oren O'Brien is? She
no, I
was
don't.
I think she retired now. She was the first female cellist. Maybe she played the bass in the Philharmonic. Really good, nice little, just a sort of snapshot of her life. And she was talking about growing up with these famous, basically Hollywood movie stars that were her parents. And she saw how miserable they were because it was all about them. And she, in the orchestra, she playing the bass, it's always about supporting the rest of the orchestra. So
Mhm.
her advice is if you want to be happy, do something that supports everybody else. You're still participating and contributing in your way, but you don't have to be the star.
Totally. I absolutely agree. Like, a lot of, I'm like a very nostalgic person. I always look back to the art movements that happened before, you know, I don't know, like what happened a long time ago, or even like I'm reading the book The Slip, which is based on this I guess area near Battery Park where Ellsworth Kelly and Robert Indiana and Younger Manhattan and Agnes Martin had studios there. But you for people always think like, oh, Picasso was a genius and like, he stood on his own, and but it's like, no, he had friends. He had a community that supported him, a community that pushed him. We all have, as human beings, our lives are based in society, and we need people around us to kind of inspire us or lift us or help. It's always great to ask for help, and um, yeah, it's like it's not one person's an island. It's like,
Absolutely. We're such social creatures and
yeah,
everything is contextual, right? All of our lives, all of the art that we make, and it's all contextual based on our community, who we're with, when we were born, what we've seen, what we've encountered, all the stuff we've absorbed.
yeah. I mean, yeah, totally. And even like the art jobs, I mean, even the jobs that we do, it's like all that knowledge, everything accumulates in the end. Um,
So what are some artists that you've looked up to historically?
oh man. I mean, I love Ellsworth Kelly. I just love the way looked he looked at the world. I learned a lot. I love like Francis Bacavia, um, the whole Memphis group, the whole like all the Bauhaus people. Um, that's crazy. As the futurists were, I love their works. Um, and like Marcel Duchamp, also like uh, learning about him in college kind of got me introduced me to abstract work. So like all the Dada and all these people from the 1920s, and uh, I can't. I mean, I looked up to my peers. I looked up to like my friends who are participating in the art world. Um, but there's like a big gap from now to like the 1960s. I'm like, for some reason, like the 70s and 80s and 90s, there's a big gap in my brain. Like I can't think of an artist that I like idolize. Um,
I
but
feel like the contemporary art scene really started kind of in the, I guess, 50s and 60s, right? That
yeah,
we still,
post-war.
yeah, we're still pretty much in that world.
Yeah, AI and all that. That's gonna create a different atmosphere.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think it has kind of flattened out a bit. One example I've encountered recently is music, and if you think about a hit from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they sound vastly different.
Yeah.
And but a hit from the 2000s, 2010s, and now, I don't know if you could really tell them apart. Maybe,
No.
right?
And it probably has to do with these like big pop artists using the same producers. It's like, why are you gonna use the same producer that made like Taylor Swift's album or Sabrina Carpenter? And it's like, why do you want to sound the same? That's like my biggest question. It's like, you know, like I idolize artists who want to sound completely different to what's current. And nowadays, it's like people figured out the formula for making a pop song, and people are just using that. And a lot of people are using AI to compose their music too. And so it's just gotten very lazy nowadays. I think since the birth of social media and um, iPhones and all these things that are highly advanced, it's just kind of limited people's brain power and they don't really think outside the box anymore.
I think you're right. I think it has to do with attention.
Yeah,
Don't you
yeah.
think?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like people don't have the attention span to like sit down and think of something new without getting the help of Google, Google search or like YouTube and yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's I'm trying to not use my phone as much or um get outside what's the word? Like inspiration or just help. Like sometimes it can seep into your subconscious and you think you're doing something new, but then you realize, oh no, I saw this in a museum or oh, I heard this on the radio. Um, yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference between being influenced and making something and copying, or not even, not almost inadvertently, like doing something because you've seen it, because you've
Yeah.
absorbed it in a certain way.
Yeah, like I'm reading this book. I'm trying to read a lot. And I'm reading this book on like the birth of the internet and where it's going. And you realize there's all this psychology, all these companies, all these tech companies hired psychologists and so they can just infiltrate human psychology and like figure out what makes humans tick and like how to manipulate people and so it's crazy.
Oh, it's amazing. They use the same. I read a book called Scarcity Brain by
Yeah.
Michael Easter. It's very similar, I'm sure, in terms of what they're talking about, but a lot of the techniques, the tactics come from the gaming and gambling industry.
Yes.
So, don't feel bad if you get addicted to this stuff, because they're powerful, incredibly talented, skillful people and programs that are set up to make
Yeah. And if you look up all these interviews and like when they interviewed these tech people and they asked them about their kids, they're all these big tech people are like, I do not even allow them to have a phone, or I don't not allow them to have an Instagram or Facebook because they understand the harm it causes. And yeah, it's depressing.
I think it's just one of those things we're going to have to navigate, in the
Hmm.
same way. I mean, culture is always changing through technology, and I think
Yeah.
it's never been more important to be an artist now because artists are preventing the world from becoming like Huxley or Orwell or somewhere in between.
Hmm. Yeah. And people look up to arts for guidance, I would say. Like, when the pandemic happened, what did people do? They just turned on Netflix and looked at films and read books and got into ceramics, got into watercolors. It's like you go to arts for, to try to escape this like harsh reality we live in. Um, but not, yeah,
It also changes your consciousness. You slow down. I notice that when I paint, I'm not even thinking about the phone. I'm just there. When you're really in the zone, when you're making something, you're invested in the process. It's the only thing you're really thinking about.
yeah, I agree. I think slowing down is something people need to be doing nowadays because like people expect this like instant gratification, or people expect to like sell out a show when it's like no, it's gonna take time. Don't get depressed if it doesn't, or like um you
We live in
know
a fast culture. It's
yeah,
fast fashion, fast food, fast art.
totally. Oh,
Yeah.
you have to be young, you have to, young artists under 35. There's all these things.
Yeah.
It's like if art is subjective, why group people in lists, and like why like give out like top booth or like top artist of the year, or like it's like there shouldn't be lists when it comes to art.
Well, the culture wants to consume, and so it creates
Yeah,
products. And I think the best one can do in the studio is really to realize that. I mean, you can make a product that still have be focused on the process at the same time. And again, I
yeah,
get a sense that you are. I recall seeing your work at Sharp Walentas, feeling that you were very much invested in the process. There's a tangible thing you have. And maybe you could describe your work a bit for people that don't know.
yeah. I do these works called hybrids where they're um ceramic slabs embedded onto canvas. They have a abstract approach to the composition. So a lot of like geometric forms and colors, and but it's my trying to use abstract in this sort of uh, self-imaginative like representational world. So it's like, oh, how do I paint like a dog with an underbite without clearly painting a dog with an underbite. So it's like, how do I take the forms of the teeth and transform down to composition? But it's a lot. It takes months to even finish one because ceramics takes months or weeks to dry and glaze, and I have to do multiple firings, and I have to wait for the ceramics to mount to like start painting because the ceramics inform the paintings and the paintings inform the ceramics. So it's like this dual relationship with these two mediums I have to like wrangle. Um, but yeah, it's the process is more important, at least for me, than the final product. Um,
Do you work on multiple pieces at once?
oh, I work in like 20 at once, just because if I'm, and also like a lot of the paintings have different techniques and different materials on them. So if I'm gonna mix this paint with sand, I'm like gonna try to attack each painting with that medium instead of letting the paint dry up in a jar, or like if I have to mix a specific color, I'm like obviously if also I think, and I learned this from Brian Wilson or like the Beatles, it's like I'm trying to think of uh, conceptual albums, like a whole album instead of individual hits. And so I have to work on a lot of pieces because I'm always working on a body of work or like a hypothetical solo exhibition. So if I like to use certain colors that will bounce off across the room, um, because all the compositions are completely different. I don't repeat compositions or motifs, and so there has to be some correlation between each piece. Um, it's a lot of I always take January off to conceptually work on a body of work. And so a lot of it's very pre-planned. Um, and so I have to work on 20 pieces. At the least. Usually I work like right now I'm working and I probably have like 35 in my studio right now that I'm
So
working
in
on.
different levels, in different phases.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, different phases, different
So you
levels.
you might be able to paint on one, or one's still being glazed, or one's in an early stage of ceramic. So how do you fix them onto the canvas? There's ceramic on canvas.
Yeah, just I have the canvas is wrapped around a wooden panel, and then I adhere the ceramics with an epoxy, and then I weigh down the ceramics. So I have the panel horizontal, and then the weight of like books or whatever heavy enough to press down on the ceramics onto the canvas.
This is
Kind
after
of,
it's been fired.
yeah, this is after it's been like fired for the second time and the glaze is already on there.
Got you.
Yeah. And
So that's the last step, is putting it onto the canvas.
yeah. Well, the last step is like painting because I don't
Then you
start
paint onto
painting.
it. It's been glazed,
Yeah,
then you paint it after it's
yeah.
been fixed to the canvas.
I get the glaze back from the kiln and then I adhere it to the canvas and then I can start the painting process.
Uh,
Yeah. Um, it's a nice like factory setting, I would say.
yeah, when I saw your work for the first time, I was struck by. I mean, you don't normally see ceramic on canvas on the wall like that. You were sort of recontextualizing painting and ceramics. It's sort of both, but neither.
Yeah, like when I first did my first one, it was more like a test. And I was trying to teach myself how to imitate glazes. Like I really wanted to, at this point, I was already doing ceramics for like the 2, 3 years. And so I was like, oh, I really love how glazes look. There's this, you know, cosmic depth to them. And so I was trying to teach myself resin and all these, how to paint in different styles. And then I glued the ceramics on the canvas, trying to like test it out and see how it works. And I just put it in the corner for like several months. And then a curator came by and they're like, well, what's this? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a test. It's like, for me, it's like at that time, I've not ever seen ceramics on painting. And so it's, for me, it looked really weird
Painting on
because of,
ceramics, right?
yeah, painting,
Yeah.
uh, or ceramics on paintings or paintings on ceramics,
Or
or
either
like
or, I
both.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either or on
Yeah.
top of each other. And then, so I didn't really have a guide to go to or to look at and like contextualize. And so at the time, the curator saw it. I was just in a show in like Boston in this two-person show at Praise Shadows. And so I gave them a hybrid painting to exhibit because I was like, oh, I'm working on these new paintings. I'm not sure if they're any good, but like, could you like maybe show it to see what the response is? And the response was good. And so I just continue on and I at the same time I was creating them. And I always did this, but like I write when I create a piece. So like for instance, if a gallery asks for exhibition writing or exhibition statement, I already have notes for them to like, oh, here, this is what I was thinking, or this is what I was reading, or so it helped me as I was making the pieces. I just kept writing about the language of what the approach is and what's the meaning behind certain
So every piece
certain
has writing that you
yeah,
do with
every
it when you
piece
make
has a
it.
story, and that's why like sometimes my titles are a bit long, or a bit like have a poetic approach to them because it's like, oh, every piece has this sort of like meaning behind it instead
Could
of
you
like what was that?
could you give us an example of the title?
The titles are so hard to remember for me sometimes, but like there's a piece that's called like What's Up with the Street Lamps. And that was like me being in LA and driving around and seeing all these like Art Deco street lamps. And so I was like, oh, I want to create a piece that's black and white and have these forms of like street lamps, but then also the action of light illuminating objects. And so that's one title. And then um, there's like I wanted to create I I think I was in like Milan, and you see these clotheslines from building to building. So I made a piece about that and how they look like aqueducts. And so the title is The Clotheslines Appearing as Aqueducts. So that's pretty straightforward, but as the viewer, um, you get a bit confusing unless there's writing that accompanies the painting. So um,
So the writing would describe basically how you came upon the idea or the title of the title or the
yeah,
yeah.
the writing acts as like little hints to what you could be looking at because a lot of the times my paintings, I mean they are symmetric, but they act as Rorschachs, and so it's really depending on the viewer, and it's open ended. So it's like I don't want to give I don't want to force the viewer to see certain things. And so I always keep my titles a bit ambiguous, but they'll give you a little hint of what the composition is or like what the imagery is.
So your work has been inspired by something you would encounter in your
And
life.
yeah, in the natural world. Yeah. And then trying to translate that in my own abstract vocabulary and instead of like painting a still life that looks like a Cezanne or like a Picasso or whatsoever. It's like, how do I create my own vocabulary and how do I create my own like motifs and signature style?
Adds another layer to it.
Yeah, there's so many layers to them. And so it's like, it's also, I think, one of the best remarks I get is like the paintings look joyful. Like they look like I had fun painting them. And I do. I have like incredible fun just like thinking of the ideas, painting it, like going through the process of like coming up all these references and there's so many layers that go to each piece and that's why they take months to finish and I fairly work small because that's like my level of energy I can do. And so right now I'm working on some 6x4s and they've already taken me like a year or so to even get started. That's how much mental energy it takes to do these works. And
What takes the most amount of time when you're making a work? Is it just conceptually thinking about it, compositionally, or do you do a sketch beforehand? How does the initial idea become physical reality?
yeah, I mean the sketching is difficult, but I would say uh, the contextualizing um, and meaning behind each work, or even just like um, having each piece correlate to the whole theme of the show. It's the hard part. And also like it's easy for me to paint small, but it's hard for me to scale up. And for some reason, it requires a bit more like movements, more like a bit more restraint. To like I only because it's big doesn't mean I have to put more information in it. It's like I have to be able to restrain myself from like putting too much or um, complicating the surface or just the whole yeah imagery. So it's a lot of like maybe overthinking. Maybe that's the hardest part. I overthink things. And so I wish I was like a zombie painter and just painting like random shit on the surface. But for me, it has to like I have to have like some meaning behind it. And so it's like maybe the emotional attachment to them or uh, but I would say overthinking is the my biggest hurdle.
I like that you say that you have to have some meaning behind your work. I wonder if you could talk about that a bit more.
Yeah, like if for instance, if I am exhibiting a piece, I want to be able to talk about it and I want to be able to feel proud of it. Um, I don't ever want to become an artist that just cranks out things because the market is hot and like clients are waiting on something. It's like, no, I want to create something that has this importance to my own life. Um, because I just don't want to create slop. I just don't want to create this junk that goes out in the world and like gets tossed around and like, gets overlooked and I think if it translates when an artist, you can tell they put so much effort into this piece and there's so much love that goes to each attention and each approach. Um, so yeah, like I don't want to create something I'm not happy about, like because that would translate, I think, pretty like clear.
I think if we can make something that won't wind up in a dumpster in 5 or 10 years, it's a
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, because I mean, definitely before I got into these works, I was making these like minimalist paintings where I'm like, I was reading a lot of theories on like the minimalists and how they approach things and how they want to deviate from like human hand and like they want to be more machine-like. And I tried it, but then in the end of it, I couldn't relate to this like cold mechanic approach to art. Um, and so I feel like I'm a very sensitive, emotional person. So it's like that at least has to translate onto my work. And so a little bit of my personality onto the surface.
It has to be honest, right?
I just have to be honest, and that's how I could be proud of my work and how I can talk about it. You often run into artists who are like, you ask them, "Oh, why did you do this?" And they would say, "I don't know," or "I don't know what the work's about," or "I just did it." And that's okay. It doesn't have to have meaning, but that's not who I am. Um,
I think you can be sincere without being saccharine. You can.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think, you look at old interviews of Andy Warhol, and he's the most vague person that was like to interview at the time, and it's like it seemed like, oh my God, he's so cool, and like he doesn't care about his work, and he just treats it as like whatever. I'm not cool. I'm not a cool person. It's like I have too much. I smile too much. I have too much investments in my own work, and so, um, you know, I I think I just wanted to say I'm not cool.
I think that kind of being not cool is now cool again. Or I don't know about again, but now it's cool to be just to be yourself. And I think there was and still is certainly a lot of posturing. Being yourself, being honest with who you are really comes through in the work and it makes it so much stronger.
Yeah, like it totally does. Like and like if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. That's the biggest thing to implement. It's like art should be therapeutic. It should be an escape from reality, and it has to do something for you. It has to be therapeutic or happy or like, get your frustrations out. It has to do something. Um, because the viewer is gonna relate to the viewer.
Have you ever listened to The Power of Myth with Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell?
No, but I want to read it. I
It's a series of interviews that he
Yeah.
did at Lucas Ranch back in like the 80s or 90s.
Uh-huh.
And you can hear it on Spotify or wherever else. It is amazing. It just the stuff he was talking about. But I was re-listening to it. I listened to it like the whole thing during COVID, and now I'm back listening to it again. But he talks about, I mean, The Power of Myth, I think, is one of his books, but I think
It's
it's
yeah,
also,
it's a
yeah,
book,
right. But
yeah. Uh-huh.
I think it's also called that. Anyhow, he was talking about the individual changing the world doesn't happen externally.
Huh.
You know, it's not
Yeah,
something that you're trying to impose out there. It's in here. And then your changes, your personal changes, internal changes, positive things, that changes the world.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the changing of the world, but I absolutely believe in that. And like I read a lot of like Stoic books and like Stoic philosophers. And I think the biggest thing they say, it's like it's not every what's it say? It's like not every event is bad or good. It's a neutral event. It's really how you interpret it. It's like if you go into this room and you're with bad or like negative outlook, it's gonna be a negative outlook. And then if you just go into it, it's like, oh no, no, this is optimistic, it might be a positive outlook. So it's like it's all internal. I mean, the whole aspect of stoicism is like it's all internal, and you have that's all you have control of. Everything else, it's out of your control. So why worry about it?
That's good. That's it. I think there's a lot of overlap between Buddhism and Stoicism.
Oh yeah, and Taoism, and I do love Joseph Campbell. I think he what a crazy man. Like oh my God, talk about intellectual. Um, but it's very dense and it takes me forever to just even read a book because I
That's why I
have
like the
to.
interviews.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
know. I need to do
yeah,
that because
yeah.
it's like like I make too many notes in my books that I'm like I just read one page and I'm like an hour or two into the book and it's so fascinating. I just but no, I haven't seen any interviews. I need to check it out.
It's so good. It's amazing. Just in terms of what you're putting into your work, that comes out, putting that love, that care, that attention, and that level of that kind of consciousness into your work, it's embedded in the thing that you make. People get it. They absorb it when they experience the piece, whatever
Yeah,
it
I
is,
mean,
the art. Yeah.
I would say it's a bit more romantic when it's an extension of myself. Like if it's like, all these artists and musicians and authors that I read about, there's a level of documentation when it comes to their lives. And so it's like I kind of want to have that where it's like, okay, what was Picasso feeling when he did Guernica or like all these like historical facts and it's a bit for me it's like romantic to have those historical facts or meanings behind things and you know like I'm in my blue period and I'm depressed and that's when I'm working with black and all that um
I feel like that stuff comes later though, right?
yeah I'm still like I feel like I'm at my prime I like
Through retrospection. You couldn't see it at
yeah,
the
I would
time.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, I and but yeah, it's it's I romanticize this old way of living pre-internet um and so yeah, it's
I think younger people are starting to kind of reject social media. I've heard about this. They're anti-smartphone, and I think in a similar way that young people now don't smoke cigarettes, really.
hmm
Younger people are seeing how toxic a lot of the technology can be. You read about periods of time in which people communicated through letters, or
yeah, yeah.
that
And
painting was just a different thing back then. Art was
totally
different. Yeah.
and like, people came up with these radical art movement artworks and they wrote these amazing books and you like question like how did they do that and then when you really break it down it's like they didn't have all the distractions we have to deal with now like they didn't have to deal with social media and marketing yourself and advertising and like trying to like do PR for your own shows and all these things, all these multiple hats that artists wear nowadays, like they just had to sit down on in the desk and write something or paint something or compose something. It was a bit simpler back then, but it was also, you know, everyone always looks in this nostalgic way to the
Right,
golden
right,
eras.
right. And it never was. It never
It never
was.
was.
They look back and yeah,
They had syphilis to worry about. They had all these like things to the flu,
they would die of just
tuberculosis,
whatever it
and
is. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And then you couldn't communicate. There was these just brutal wars, etc. But
yeah.
and just in terms of art, also it seems like in ages past, you could have a manifesto in a way that now, even in the past few decades, in the way you could have something maybe in like the 70s and 80s. And I'm thinking about a seminar that I took in grad school. I think we read Lucy Lepard. Do you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
She wrote some stuff. Actually, maybe a better example is I think it was Robert Morris who wrote about minimalism and
Hmm.
was talking about this is the new art. This is it. This is the thing. And so now I think it would seem ridiculous if you had some, this is the art of the future, this is going to be, because now in a way it's like maybe I'm just referring to the postmodern condition, whatever it is. It's just a different way of looking. I think it has to do with hypersaturation.
Oh yeah. Well, now there's like so many artists, and even the way the press talks about the art is very different. Like they don't talk about like manifestos. They don't talk about like meaning behind things or like they talk about how much something sold and who bought it and who was there, Leonardo DiCaprio or what celebrity was there. They talk about like the parties in Miami. They talk about all these like superficial things.
It's the culture. I know
Yeah.
we're really
Like
focused on
there's
the
only
product.
like a handful of like writers, like a lot of the writers. I love the writers in Hyperallergic because they write um very like meaningful, not meaningful, but just like wonderful pieces. And then like I love
Less
Robert.
market based.
Yeah, less market based,
Yeah.
more commentaries on the art world, and I love the writings of like Roberta Smith. Um, just like a lot of critics um that you they lived and breathed art.
So speaking of market and shows, we should talk about your show. You were going to have a show at Speroni.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so Speroni Westwater is a gallery in Lower Manhattan that just recently announced they were closing.
Yeah. Yeah, I just did an interview with Bomb Magazine with Melissa Joseph, and I was like, I think, yeah, I kind of left had them like leave me talking about the show because I was like, I worked on like the concept of the show for like 6 months, and um, so I had this idea of how to work with the architecture of the building and like the multiple floors. And I started on it, so I built all the panels and everything. And I think I just had a solo exhibition with the Pit in LA in November. Um, and so when I was in LA, that's when like I heard about Sprony closing. And so now, and I talked to the directors and everything, um, and it's it happens to galleries. People close. 50 years is a long time. Um, so Angela Westwater, amazing, you know, uh, um, you know, I don't even know how to say like mentor or like um, just a great director to have joined her gallery, and great owner, great person. I'm just happy I had, I was like maybe the youngest person in their roster and so brand new to their roster. So the time I had with them was great, and it's so pivotal to my own art career. And but I'm still gonna work on that show. I'm still gonna finish out um, that show in case some other gallery decides to take it on, or if um, or like an art fair, or I'm still gonna finish it just because why not? You know, I'm not just gonna throw away all these months of working on this concept. But
The
yeah,
show
it's a
must go
bummer.
on.
The show must go on. I gotta act like it's still going. Um,
I
you
wonder
know,
what it says about just, I mean, there's been a lot of uncertainty in the art market and a lot of galleries closing and economy changing, et cetera. And some people I've talked to think it could be a good thing. What do you think about the top contour view of the art world in that sense?
yeah, I mean, the art world, I have a lot of friends who are like older artists, and it seems like the way they often tell me like, oh, this is the worst the economy's been. This is the but it seems like this happens almost 20 every 20 years. Like something happens in the art world and it shifts onto something else. And I think it's like maybe the art world trying to um cleanse itself. I don't know. Like, when like a printer is like you often have to run the like clean process on the printer so it can get all the junk out. I think that's what's happening, maybe like it's changing. You have to be able to adapt, and I think it's always the artist who lasts the longest that survives. And so um I don't know how to feel about what's happening now because the market has been awful, but I think the people who are really, really passionate about what they're doing are going to continue doing it no matter what. Like, I would say if I had to like take on a carpenter job or like work in construction or work behind a cubicle, I will still be making art. I'll still be doing what I want to do. Um, but yeah, it's shifting a lot.
Do you think there's a way in which it could thin out the people that aren't very serious?
Yeah. In honest, yeah. I would say there's or like, um yeah, because it's interesting. You look, there's so many art fairs too. I hope that art fairs kind of go away because it's great that people someone can do your work that can't visit the gallery in the city that you're in, or but they cost a lot for galleries. They happen almost like 3 times a month. I think galleries are getting overworked with like keeping up with the Joneses and keeping up appearances and like paying a buttload of money to go to art fairs and present themselves as like, oh, we're still successful, like we're not struggling. And then you look at the art fairs and how much artists are encouraged to turn out works on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And, certain huge galleries want their artists to like work, work, work and produce, produce, produce. And you can tell that the artist is wearing down and like, or they're repeating themselves. And there's so many artists at art fairs that are like derivatives of other artists. And so like I hope it does weed out some of those people who are like, art in it because they want to be on the cover of a magazine or but yeah, no, I think I'm just like more worried about my community, I would say, and myself. But I mean, everything's just getting more expensive now. So it's really, really, that's the big worrisome. It's like the expense of having a studio or like being able to live in New York City or uh, than just gallery sales.
Yeah, yeah, I do get also get a sense that it's always kind of been difficult to live in New York City. There's a documentary called Pretends to City with Martin Scorsese and Fran Lebowitz. Do you know?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's really good. It's a short like miniseries on Netflix, but she's a famous, I would say, writer, but also just notoriously witty person. And she was saying that nobody can afford to live here at any level, but we do anyway.
Yeah, there's the energy about it, like you often see these like movies and New York is the character in the movie and it's great. There's a level of energy and like people always think like New Yorkers are like mean and arrogant, but it's like the friendliest people I've ever met in my whole life.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah.
and supporting people. And I've lived in California. You would think it would be Californians, but no, it's like New Yorkers are like there's a level of community and support but yeah, things are shifting and people just you know,
Being here as an artist, that's what it's all about. It's about the people, it's about connection, it's about the community. And we're so lucky that, I mean, there's just an amazing level of creativity that you can tap into as an artist being here,
yeah,
just being
yeah.
here.
It's like school. You're learning something every day here. And as long as you take it in and you absorb it, like you're gonna develop into, you know, I hope a good human being because like you're learning so much about society, about art, about like urban life and um
And you learn to celebrate differences.
yeah,
You became very tolerant to all kinds of weirdos. I remember you
totally.
have to be.
And it's a huge melting pot
Yeah.
and you and you know often like even in the if you go on the train there are people who treat the train as their own personal space and
Yeah.
I'm like yo like you're around other people this is don't put your bag down like you doesn't have to take up a seat and um yeah and you just have to be more considerate. I think human beings just have to be more considerate of others because it's like you can't be walking up the stairs and playing Candy Crunch or with Candy Crush. It's like
Yeah. Or
get off
blasting your boombox or whatever it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
just get off your
Yeah.
phone and like
Yeah.
just look around you and like I'm trying to like not look at my phone on the trains because it's like um if you actually look up on a like crowded train, you'll see that everyone's looking down on their phones and it's a bit depressing. So it's like,
I found that when I don't wear headphones and be on, and I'm not on the phone, I'm not on headphones, and I'm walking around, you can make connections. Just
oh,
even
totally.
brief little, just 2 seconds. How's your day going, etc. It really changes your consciousness.
Yeah. I mean, it really changes your relationship with others too. And it's like I think it overall just makes you a good human being to just um be present, I would say. Just to like, if you're having a conversation with someone, it'll be so rude if someone's telling you something personal and you're like on your phone. Um,
Yeah, be
but
present, attend to the moment, you know?
and even the same thing as going to art shows. It's like look at the work. Don't just like try to find your friend in the crowd and like go there and just try to drink their booze and like look at the work that this artist has worked so much on. Um,
Yeah, talk to
you know,
somebody that you don't know,
yeah,
just strike up a
yeah,
conversation. Hey,
strike up,
you
yeah,
know,
totally.
it's people are very receptive to that. Often I'll go to an opening, and if I don't know somebody, I'll just talk to somebody there and we just kind of have a little connection, talk about the work and whatever. And I think that's one of the best functions of art that I can think of is it connects people.
Oh yeah, yeah. I it's hard for me because I'm shy, but when I do it, it's so gratifying because you know, I'll come home and I'm like, oh, I really, really had to like, get the energy to go out to this opening. And then I'm like, by the end of it, I'm like, I'm so happy I went. Like, oh, I'm so happy I ran into this person, or like, it was so fun, and like, oh, I met the artists, and they were so cool, and like, oh yeah, it's like it gives it off a different experience than just like looking at an exhibition through your phone or a screen, and or even just like, there's so many openings nowadays that like you go in there and you leave right away, but it's like just maybe you'll be surprised if you take the time to look at something longer than 10 seconds.
Yeah, just show up.
Just show up. That's all it takes.
You grew up in LA, and did you go to school in LA too?
I went to school in San Francisco,
Where did you go to school?
SFSU, so San Francisco State University.
After San Francisco, did you go back to LA or you went to New York right away?
After some, like I went to school for printmaking, and I was just wanted to be a printmaker and work for like a master printer. But then I started teaching myself painting, and I was like, oh, I was like, even though I got a bachelor's in arts, I'm like, was hesitant to be an artist. And it wasn't until I got introduced to shop that I was like, huh, maybe I want to be an artist, like a full-time artist. And I asked myself like, oh, how can I do this? And like you read art history books and you learn that there's so many great artists that lived in New York. So I decided to move across the country and give that a shot. And when I moved here, because at that time I was like working at Whole Foods and I was working in restaurants, and I like told myself, oh, if you're gonna move to New York and you're gonna move to New York for arts, and then you're gonna just only work in the art world, only work in the art world, only and try to find yourself a studio and become an artist. And so yeah, I moved here after college. It took me like 6 years to graduate college because I just didn't know what to do. But yeah, moved here after college, lived here for like 5 years, moved to Kansas City, and then just moved back uh, like 2, 3 years ago. So yeah,
And the rest is history.
the rest is history.
Now
Who
here you
knows
are.
how long I'm gonna be in New York if I
Yeah,
if I
no,
get if I get priced out or whatever. But um,
one never knows. It's always that's the thing. It's always tenuous here.
yeah, it's and artists cycle in and they cycle out. So uh,
Well, everybody and everything has a shelf life, right?
yeah, totally. I agree.
Well,
That's a good way of saying it.
we all have a moment. We get to be here and do this thing, and hopefully we can make the most of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Kevin, it's been a real pleasure. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Well, I like to end on a positive note, or like some. No, I can't think of anything. I'm like all mentally burnt out.
No, well, thank
But
you. I really appreciate you doing this.
I,
Now you said you had a show at the Pit in back in
yeah,
November. Is that still up?
yeah. Maybe yeah. I'll say this. Yeah. I have a show at the Pit. It's up till December 20th. Um, yeah. So that's been up since the November 1st, and so. It's like my homecoming show. It's the first time ever showing in LA. Um, it's like the first time my family has ever seen my works in person. So it means a lot to show there and to show with the Pit and such a supporting cast of gallerists. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. And then you're gonna find a show for the show that was gonna be at the one that got canceled. I'm sure you'll find a space for that.
Yes, I hope I can find a place that would take it on and uh, yeah, you always hear of like vultures, you know, preying on the artist that when a gallery closes, and so far no one's no one's
Some welcome
no one's yeah,
so any vultures out there, you're most welcome
yeah,
to come around.
yeah,
Yeah, they will. I
yeah,
mean, the thing is you're going to be making the work whether you have a show or not. That's the thing that matters. Your connection to the process is strong, and then nothing else to worry about.
yeah. I hope it speaks for itself. Like you often I often hear people, oh, you're gonna do well. Don't worry about it. Da da da. But at the moment, it's hard to believe that. Um, and they say the word speaks for itself. But it's like at the moment, it's like, oh, it's so hard to like take that positive advice or affirmation and implement it into my own mental capacity.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be sending you good vibes.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. That's awesome. This has been so fun.
Of
And
course, yeah.
I'm glad that we you talked about Joseph Campbell because I actually talked about one of his books a couple of weeks ago to someone and it just now that you like mentioned that it's like maybe I should listen to his things than trying to like digest it through the reading.
Oh yeah, it's so inspiring.
Yeah.
I'm gonna re-listen to it again. I'm gonna be driving back to Indiana to see some family over the
Oh
holidays.
yeah.
So that's like a good 6 hours it'll take up right there.
Oh
Yeah.
nice. What part of Indiana
It's like
are
there's a
they?
close, it's a kind of a suburb, like a suburb of Chicago.
Suburb Chicago?
It's called Valparaiso, Indiana.
Okay.
It's like an hour from Chicago. It's
Try to at least do one road trip every year. Um, and I think last year I did LA to Aspen.
oh, that's a nice
And so,
one.
so I
Yeah.
drove like across Vegas, across Moab, Zion, and like what did I do? Another national park.
That's a nice trip. I've done that.
But I still haven't been to the Grand Canyon, which I kind of want to do
It's worth
next year.
going. It's worth going. It
Yeah.
is astounding. It is truly I mean you'll never see that distance. It's so purple and blue because you're
Well,
seeing that like the atmosphere basically. It's just
yeah.
amazing. It's
Wow.
remarkable.
Awesome.
Oh, well, Kevin, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you
Oh,
again.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Hopefully I run into you soon
I hope so.
or we'll grab drinks or
I'd
something.
love that. Yeah, let's hang out.